After 10 years, around the time that Big Mind had been around 10 years, I realized that a number of my students had only been working with me in the last 10 years, lacked a certain kind of respect for the vertical. It was more like everything had to be horizontal, friendship, kinship, you know, and so forth. And that the students had been with me for 20 or 25 years, had a certain respect that some of the students did not have, who'd only been with me the past 10 years.
And when a student doesn't have a fundamental level of respect for the teacher, and the teacher is supposed to be a manifestation and a representation of spirit, or that which is higher.
Buddha.
Or the Buddha, yeah, or that which is higher. And of course, different teachers represent that, you know, their authenticity to be able to do that, of course, depends upon the individual and their own level of enlightenment and all the rest of it. But what happens when that is not honored or respected?
Okay, what happens is they're not empowered. And I'll give you an example, and I think it's a very simple example. Think of the faucet in your kitchen sink, okay? You've got the spigot, okay? And if you go back, that spigot is connected to a pipe, and that pipe goes back to a bigger pipe, and it all goes back to the source of where the water comes from. Now, if the student is a cup, okay, and you put that cup under the spigot, and you turn it on, then the water comes through. Let's say that water is Dharma that's coming through, and the spigot is the teacher and the cup is the student. There's several things that can go wrong. One is the student, which many of us try to do, is get beside the spigot and not under it. So we try to have the horizontal relationship, and we want to be buddy-buddies with the teacher.
Right.
You know, we want the teacher to be our friend. So we end up like this, okay? And nothing can come through. You can get as close or as far away, you can actually touch, you know, get pretty intimate, and still nothing happens in that relationship until the student goes under. Now, some of us, and I was one of these, wanted to sit on top of the teacher, you know, come into the Doksan room or whatever, and say, okay, here I am, you know, teach me. Well, nothing can happen, nothing can flow through because I'm sitting on their head, the teacher's head. So we have to find a way to actually submit, to actually come under the teacher.
Right, so the teacher represents that which is higher.
Right.
And what we were speaking about before is the conflict between postmodern pluralism and the belief that all human beings are equal. The conflict between that and the fact that what we call spirit by any name is that which is higher than the self, than the individual self, than the ego. And so the spiritual master, the spiritual teacher is supposed to represent or be a living embodiment, a living manifestation or expression of, and also a metaphor for that which is higher. And therefore, it's a challenge for the postmodern self that treasures equality and pluralism more than anything else, to learn how to relate to that which is higher without feeling disempowered by that. Because the postmodern self often feels disempowered if it has to embrace hierarchy at any level. And in fact, what you're saying, and this is very much my experience and how I see things, is that embracing hierarchy is actually a source of spiritual power and a source of strength, rather than being disempowering. But of course, that's something that one has to recognize for oneself. It's nothing less than actually empowering. And of course, if a spiritual teacher or a spiritual master is authentic, they should be able to embody and manifest the kind of humility that proves to, or demonstrates for people that have eyes to see, that they are on bended knee more than anyone else, so to speak, because of their recognition of Spirit's true face. In relationship to what you were saying before, I've had a similar issues, whereas when people who were originally my students became my friends, they found it difficult to sustain the relationship with me as a teacher. And in my own life, ever since I became a teacher, and also before that, the spirit has always been more, you know, what spirit is has always come first for me, and I've always been very honest and transparent about that. And many were shocked when they found out that the personal relationship to me was actually, in the end, you know, irrelevant if the truth of our relationship, or what it was really based on, didn't come first. Because if that comes first, then we can be friends.
That's right.
But if that doesn't come first, then our friendship is actually inhibiting the truth of who I am, and the truth of what their own potential is, and the truth and inhibits the potential of our relationship to empower both of us and to enlighten the world. But a lot of people had trouble with this.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember my own experience one time in the interview room, the Doksan room, with my own teacher, and him saying to me, you know, I don't care about you at all as a person.
Exactly.
You know, the only thing is I see you as a potential vessel for the Dharma.
Beautiful, perfect.
And this was in the 70s.
Wonderful.
And it hit me, I mean, it hit me hard.
Yeah.
It was like a dagger into my heart. I don't care about you personally.
Into the heart of your ego.
Yeah, absolutely. But it felt like a dagger into my heart. You know, because my ego was my heart.
Right, exactly.
At that moment.
That wasn't your real heart then.
No, but it was certainly where I was.
So I
abiding.
guess he had a good aim then.
He did a terrific game. He hit me like that. Trungpa also hit me like that a number of times in my contact with Trungpa. But anyways, when he said that, the only thing I care about is that you become a great vessel or a great vehicle.
But that's fabulous.
You know,
Wonderful.
Right, and I know that I have the same feelings. You know, and it's very painful.
As a Zen master.
As a master, I have the same feelings, and it's very painful for students to know that in truth, the most important thing to me is them as a vehicle,
that they
as a
become
vessel.
a vessel for the Dharma.
Absolutely.
Right. So in other words, your love for them is not for them as an individual, but for them as a potential vessel for that which is higher.
And that's very hard for the ego to take.
Yes, but it's very hard for the ego to take. But from a certain point of view, we could say it's not possible to love anybody more than that.
That's true.
It's not possible to love anybody
because you're
more
loving
than
the
that.
higher self. You're loving.
Well, because you love them so much that you actually don't care about their ego at all.
Right. That's
And what
right.
you see, because the greatest gift, at least from the point of view of the Dharma, the greatest gift we can bring to the world is a vessel for spirit, because the more vessels for spirit there are, the more spirit comes into the world, and we're doing the greatest good. And so when a teacher, like a truly enlightened teacher, sees all individuals who come to them as potential vehicles for spirit, and doesn't really so much care about the individual, in other words, the predicament of the particular individual and the predicament of their ego.
Or the personal
exactly.
stuff, you know.
Or all the personal, psychological, emotional
complexity. But it is very difficult. It is very difficult for students to really get that.
Well, especially in our day and age.
Absolutely.
And the reason, because in postmodernity, being an individual, being a highly individuated individual, being a highly individuated personality, is how we've been conditioned by culture, and suddenly to realize that what we believe is the most important part of ourselves is our sense of being an individuate, our sense of being special, our sense of being unique. We say, well, that's not really what's important here. Are you capable of humbling yourself enough so that spirit will be able to move through you as it moves through me?
Right.